In today's video, we're going to talk all about postpartum anxiety and whether or not this is the mental health issue that no one is really talking about. Have you ever heard that you're just hormonal, or that potentially maybe it just all boils down to sleep deprivation and you need to relax and enjoy your time with your new baby? These are just some of the things that women with postpartum anxiety hear when they try to talk about their feelings. And here's the thing, it's not just any of those things, and it's certainly not all in your head. Hi there, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jessica, and here on my channel, we focus on all things mom life, but everything we do in my space does have a bit of a healthy twist, as I'm a holistic nutritionist and a nutritional practitioner. I have a lot of videos here on my channel regarding pregnancy, preconception, and postconception. So if you're interested, I will have that entire playlist link for you in the description box down below. If you've ever heard the term postpartum anxiety or PPA, you're not alone. This mental health mood disorder is definitely like the rigid stepsister of postpartum depression, and many people within the medical community aren't even aware of it. Why is that? So unlike postpartum depression, which has been well studied in research, there hasn't been a substantial amount of research devoted to postpartum anxiety. Therefore, the lack of research means that there's little to no screening tools like there is, unfortunately, for postpartum depression. So oftentimes it gets completely missed by OBs, midwives, and primary care providers who are seeing women who might be dealing with this in their postpartum period. So what is postpartum anxiety then? So it is most definitely normal to have worries if you're a new mom. After all, motherhood is our main job, and it's to love, nurture, and protect our children. And with that comes a great responsibility. So if you're wondering what is considered normal worry versus very extreme worry, it might require you to talk with somebody that you know, potentially a spouse or a partner, or seek professional help if you're nervous that you might be borderline on the extreme side. The main difference is being able to differentiate between potential risk of threat versus an actual risk of threat, and what may and may not be real. For women with postpartum anxiety, their body and mind are completely overdriven with intrusive and unrealistic thoughts. Women with postpartum anxiety feel completely overwhelmed by simple tasks and are anxious, resentful, irritable, and even angry. This can definitely be a clue that you might need some support, reassurance, appreciation, rest, validation, connection, and even some additional help. This is often not talked about. So many women have something that comes up 1 year after birth and they feel completely crazy. It could even start 5 to 7 months, and at that point you haven't seen your midwife or OB since your 6-week checkup and assessment. Now, determining how long this will last, this comes down to each woman and mother. It depends on her nutrients, how her nutrients were going into birth and coming out postpartum, her diet, her rest, her self-care, the amount of help that she has around her. All of these things are completely individualized. This will give us a better assessment as to how long it may take you to heal and to begin to start to feel better. Some of the most common postpartum anxiety symptoms include things like agitation, irritability, increased concern about your own health or the health of the baby, changes in appetite, changes in weight, having a hard time falling asleep, waking up in the middle of the night with fearfulness, consistent worry, difficulty sitting still, increased heart rate, racing and intrusive thoughts, sensitivity to being overly touched, definitely stress when it comes to leaving the house or leaving the baby. A lot of women also experience the inability to trust anybody to care for their baby, yet they feel completely overwhelmed and also feel like they may need a break. So from the research that we do have, it shows that approximately 10% of new mothers experience postpartum anxiety. However, we do know that most of this goes undiagnosed. Women will have their 6-week checkup, and then the onset of symptoms start to appear 3, 4, 5, and even 7 months down the road, and these things completely get undiagnosed. So due to the lack of research and screening for this, mood disorders and underlying symptoms by new mothers aren't really researched. And I believe that the number is much higher. In fact, 91% of new mothers experience scary and intrusive thoughts. There's a greater risk if you have postpartum anxiety or if you have anxiety disorders in your family that you may experience these on a greater level. So you and your baby could be completely fine at your 6-week checkup. However, come 3-4 months down the road, something could happen, and this could be critical to have this information for your healing journey. So what causes postpartum anxiety? In the time immediately following the birth of your child, there's usually a surge of adrenaline that keeps new moms going because we're exhausted and there's so much sleep deprivation happening. Then once that surge dissipates, the lack of sleep from caring for a newborn infant and potentially other children starts to dwindle, and it can take a toll on your mood. And then, of course, depending on your delivery, whether it was vaginal or C-section, there can be an increased risk for mood disorders like postpartum anxiety and depression, depending on your own experience. So oxytocin is a hormone that's secreted by the pituitary gland that promotes contractions of the uterus during and after labor. But more importantly, it's also called, we know it as the love hormone, because it promotes that feeling of love and bonding between the mother and the baby. Additionally, this hormone is extremely useful when it comes to breastfeeding because the amount of oxytocin that's released at the time of birth also then rushes into your breast milk. And so hormonal changes are a big contributor in the effects of postpartum anxiety and depression. These ebbs and flows of high hormones, high adrenaline, oxytocin, progesterone, all of these hormonal shifts really can place a huge burden on the mother, especially if she's dealing with any inflammatory or autoimmune disorders. All of these things can put you at a greater risk for any potential mood disorders. When you deliver your baby and your placenta, there's a sudden drop in your body's progesterone levels. For women who are not breastfeeding, their period tends to return within 6 to 8 weeks. So regular periods come with regular ovulation so that your body is making progesterone again, which supports your mood. For women who are breastfeeding, their period might not return for 4 to 8 months after giving birth. And no period means no ovulation, which means no progesterone. So while our adrenal glands make some progesterone, the consistent stressors of parenting as well as lack of sleep can cause the adrenal glands to completely shift from making sex hormones like progesterone to making stress hormones like cortisol. So increased cortisol levels are most definitely associated with postpartum anxiety and sleep disturbances. When we're talking recovery, it's definitely not linear and in fact will involve some ups and downs. That is why having support from family and friends and other mothers, as well as mental health professionals, is extremely important. Having setbacks does not mean that you will end up in a dark place again. With treatment comes coping skills to hone in on your triggers and how to work through them when they do present themselves. So now, what does postpartum anxiety treatment and recovery look like? So with my clients, I work closely with them and their doctor and healthcare provider to prepare them for the changes that come after birth. We do this beforehand. Together, we take an in-depth look at their hormones, their thyroid health, and their micronutrients needed for a healthy pregnancy, as well as a healthy recovery postpartum. We're also able to utilize special testing to get a closer look at gut microbiome, which is responsible, of course, for 95% of our mood stabilizing neurotransmitters in the body, as well as your adrenal function and stress hormones. From there, this is really helpful because I and your healthcare team can recommend safe options to support a healthy microbiome, especially if you're nursing things as pre and probiotics or ways to manage stress safely with the help of magnesium, nutrition, meditation, movement, and sleep optimization. I will often make a referral if it's appropriate to a mental health professional who specializes in postpartum mood disorders, as well as I always recommend reaching out to local mom groups and friends within your circle who can be there for you to really get you that additional support. If you're pregnant and concerned about postpartum anxiety, I do have a few other videos that I can link up for you up here in the cards and down below. There's tons of education and I can link those for you up in the cards and additionally down in the description box down below. But they are jam-packed with information and education that you can use to help you change your diet and really up things to stack the deck in your favor. I'm telling you that if you work through things and you really try your best to build up your micro and macronutrients, this can truly, truly help you in your postpartum recovery. If you're watching this video right now and you identify with postpartum anxiety, please know that you are not alone and you do not have to live with these feelings forever. At this moment, you can take control by taking deep breaths, grounding yourself and focusing on your senses. Getting a change of scenery is something that is so overlooked, but extremely helpful. Take 5 minutes outside, go to a different room in your home, call somebody, put on music, dance to something that makes you feel good, write out your feelings. Most importantly, observe what you're feeling without judgment. Focus your attention on one task at a time and do something small that can help you feel empowered to move in the right direction. Now I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Were you somebody or are you somebody dealing with postpartum anxiety, and what were the steps that you took to feel better? Additionally, if you know somebody who's struggling with postpartum anxiety, I would love it if you could share this video with them. I'm hopeful that the information that we covered could be helpful in their healing journey. And now the subscribe button is right over here on the screen. Give that a click. That way you don't miss a single video. And I hope to see you back here next Thursday.